when you see somebody, whether it's a young person or someone else that's on the streets, homeless, just don't rush to judgment about that person. You know, most likely they've experienced tremendous trauma, whether that's being a veteran of the armed forces or coming out of foster care or domestic violence situation. You know, they're individuals, they're people, they're members of our community, and they deserve respect and they deserve our empathy and compassion. And uh, just maybe look through a different lens when you encounter them. And one of the best things our youth says about us is just that we take the time to listen to them and acknowledge them and say good morning and say hi and hey, what's your name? And, it's little things like that that can make a big difference.
Most people chase higher salaries and corporate success, but you did the opposite. You took a massive pay cut to work in the nonprofit world. Listen, I have a question, Chris. What made you actually take that leap? How did you know it was just the right decision?
Well, pleasure to be here, Efren. And, it's something that just really fell in my lap. And it wasn't anything that I had planned necessarily. I was experiencing a lot of success in the corporate world in my finance career, but there were a lot of things that I wasn't happy about in my situation. Uh, Trying to spend time with my young family, uh, feeling like I was appreciated and valued, just being part of a really healthy culture. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do actually. And then out of the blue, I got a letter on my desk about a nonprofit that needed a chief financial officer. And I said, look, this must be a sign that I should look into this because this doesn't happen every day. And when I went to meet with everybody at Orangewood Foundation, I just really immediately felt a connection. I love the mission of serving young people that are really struggling in our community. And that was something that I had done with my kids, being a part of lots of youth programs. And so it just seemed like this is what I'm meant to do. I could help them a lot with my expertise. They had some big plans, things they wanted to accomplish, and they could help me get my life back in balance and enjoy what I was doing.
And I remember you saying that how important it was to gain that time back to be with family, right? It's not always about the money because at the end of the day, man, we leave here and then what? We have all this money for what? But those memories that you get to spend with your kids and the things that you build, I really want to dive into not only before we even dive into the incredible work you do today, I want to take it back. Who was Chris before you were CEO of Orangewood? Who was Chris? What was it like in the corporate world for you?
Well, I had kind of mapped out what I thought a finance career would look like for me if I was successful. And really, I just kind of knocked off all those markers steadily over 18 years, going from, working at a big accounting firm to becoming the CFO of a very, very large corporate entity, $3 billion in revenue and making tons of money and, really having a successful career. So it had all gone according to plan, but what wasn't working out for me was just that balance in my life. And yeah, could I have gone to another corporate job and still made money similar to that? Maybe, probably. But like I said, when I got this letter and went and visited with the people from Orangewood Foundation, it just seemed like that's where I was meant to be. And I was so excited about the opportunity. And, I tell my friends that are now retired from my last place I worked, yeah, all I gave up was money, really. That's it. But I gained so much as far as time with my family, meeting amazing people, working with an incredible team that everyone at our organization has a good heart. They care about others. They want to help others, whether that's our staff, our volunteers, our donors, our community partners. I mean, to be surrounded by good people day in and day out, I mean, you can't put a price on that.
I love it. Not 100%, man. And you took a big risk really stepping into that nonprofit world. Not a lot of people to go from, the for-profit world to the nonprofit world. What was that transition like? Like, were there any big surprises or challenges in shifting from that corporate mindset to that purpose-driven leadership?
You know, nonprofits are a business also, and sometimes people forget about that. So the same things that I worked on previously, they were all there as well at Orangewood Foundation, just on a smaller scale. Uh, and I guess challenges do exist because you have fewer resources generally. And so
Hmm.
you have to wear a lot more hats, which I'm fine with that. Uh, the biggest challenge was really 9 months after I started, the recession of 2008 hit. And we were not, as an organization, prepared to weather something like that for a lot of different reasons. And so the next couple of years, we had to take some real drastic action as an organization just to continue our services and to keep going.
Hmm.
We had been around 30 years, but like I said, we weren't really prepared for something like that. So that was the biggest challenge I had, was kind of leading our organization through that big downturn that really impacted us. And once we got through that and things started getting better, uh, we jumped on our big project to build our charter school, and yeah, everything's gone well since then.
I love it. And for those that don't even know what Orangewood is, you're serving the youth coming out of the system, trafficking survivors, as well as homeless young adults. What does it take to build an organization that truly makes a difference?
Well, first off, you just have to have great people involved. Your staff, your board of directors, they have to be passionate about the mission and the work that you do. It's not like corporate America where you might have some of your employees that are just kind of going through the motions. They don't like their job necessarily, but whatever, they like the pay, or they're just waiting to retire. We need everybody to be all in on who we serve and what we do. And so that's really the first big step in being impactful and really helping those in your community that are most vulnerable. And so as an organization, we are constantly looking to see how we can do more, how we can have a bigger impact, where are the gaps in services, who needs more services, what role we can play in doing that, or can we partner with other nonprofits in our county that maybe have better expertise than us. So
Yep.
it's not all about how big can Orangewood get. It's really, how can we have the biggest impact? And that doesn't necessarily mean us getting huge.
Yeah.
It's, using all of those resources that are around you in the community to give your young people all the support they need.
Yeah, I love it. I think sometimes it's just conversations as well. I was recently in a situation where the foundation I was a part of wanted to provide more scholarships, but we had a great opportunity to have a really great speaker. So to me, it was like, do we empower hundreds of kids with one speaker, right? That could last a lifetime, or are we focusing on providing a $500 scholarship? And to me, it's like I'd rather make the impact on reaching hundreds of kids in an auditorium where maybe that story does resonate with them, because a lot of times is seeing someone that looks like them, someone that can actually speak your language, and seeing that versus just that $500 that would probably last a book at times, right? So I love the focus on you saying it's not so much as I want Orangewood to be this global phenomenon, but I want to make sure that we're hitting every area that we can, that we're really making impacts. And I would actually want to go into that foster care, because I think I told you I was adopted, so it's a very sweet space for me. I love to know that you're in this space helping, and we know that foster care could truly be heartbreaking when you look at the statistics. Only 3% of foster youth graduates college, and 66% face homelessness within a year of aging out. Why do so many young people actually struggle after leaving the system?
Well, it's not really a huge mystery. They've been put into the child welfare system with no fault of their own.
Hmm.
They weren't in a stable situation with their families. And I don't know about you, but most young people, when they turn 18, uh, to tell them that they have to go out first graduate high school, which is not a given with foster youth because they move around so much. Only about 60% or so graduate high school, which is a terrible statistic. But if they do graduate high school, then you have to, figure out where you're going to live. You're going to need a job to pay for that place that you're living at. And you're going to need to maybe potentially go to community college or a 4-year school to get your degree or get into a trade school to learn a trade and get a certificate. That's a lot to ask of an 18-year-old when you don't have parents that can support you and help you, coming up with thousands of dollars for a deposit on an apartment. Most of them don't have a car. They can't afford a car or the insurance. So how do you get around to school and work and home? You have to use public transit or a bike or a skateboard. I mean, it is just so many things stacked against them.
I
So,
agree.
we're trying to give them those resources that they need, try to level the playing field for them. And, it's not all about resources, though, too. They haven't had a lot of adults in their life that have been there and, had those stable adult relationships. So they're, on top of the trauma that they most likely encountered when they were a child, which got them into foster care, they don't trust too many people, and they are very skeptical of everyone. So at our organization, our first step with every young person that we meet is just meeting their immediate needs and just showing them that we care. And over time, we start building that trusting relationship. They realize, hey, this is a safe place that I can go to. They aren't judging me. They listen to me. They care about me. And sometimes that takes a week, sometimes it takes a month,
Mhm.
but ultimately we do a really good job of getting those young people to the point where they say, okay, you know what? I can open up a little bit about what my goals are, what I want to accomplish, what I need help with, because there's no playbook with these young people. Everybody is an individual with different experiences as a child, different circumstances in their current life, and different goals in their future life. So
Mhm.
we really are passionate about, it's the life that that young person envisions for themselves that we want to help them achieve. And it's not telling them what we think is best for them, it's helping them do what they want to accomplish.
I love that. And if I give you this magic wand, this thing that could change something in society to help foster our youth, what would that actually look like? You could change one thing about society that actually supports foster youth.
Wow, that is it would have to be a very big wand, I think. I mean, the foster care system is complicated, and I think most counties and states are trying to do the best they can, but it's just really tough to try to find the people to take care of the foster youth while they're in foster care. But the exit from foster care is just something that is just unrealistic for most young people to accomplish. And so
Hmm.
we need to give them better resources during that transition so that they don't have to worry about their safety and their next meal and all those basic things. If you're worried about all those basic things, there's no way you can start thinking in the future about bigger goals like getting a college degree or getting into a career. I mean, you're just trying to
Hmm.
survive day to day, and it's up to us as a community to make sure that that isn't the case. And I don't know exactly what all those resources would look like. There
Hmm.
there are some programs that have been helpful that have been implemented. HUD, the housing agency for the United States, created a foster youth for independence housing voucher about 5 or 6 years ago.
Nice.
So that has been extremely helpful where they can get 3 to 5 years of subsidized housing, which allows
Wow.
them to have stability, to save money, to potentially buy a vehicle, to focus on education or career. So those types of programs the more of those that we can create, I think the better our chances are to have better outcomes for these young people.
Hey, real quick, if you enjoying the podcast, we first want to say thank you. And we also just want to give you a little insight of what we're up to at Francis. Some don't even realize that we're working with organizations to help them use AI to create that real human communication experiences, where that's actually supporting your families, those patients, or the entire community. We're actually creating tech that connects. Check it out, francis.ai. I like that, especially now when things are so expensive, for everyone, But just imagine when that's the baggage that you carry along with you as well, where you don't have support, you don't have family, you don't have someone you can go and spend, a night on their couch, per se. Having something like that I can see where it's so beneficial because I've experienced those that come out of the foster care system, and as you mentioned, they're just lost. They don't know what's next. I'd be very transparent. I remember having a friend that as soon as he aged out of the system, he had two things. Either he can, because I guess I'm not too into the what they provide because I was adopted and I don't know if I get the same treatment. I just didn't know. I never really looked into it. But I did see that I had a friend, and when he turned 18, they were giving him so much money a month. And the foster mom said, well, either you go find your own space, which is going to be very hard. This young kid was still in school. He was 18. Or you can pay $500. And he was sharing a room with others, like four others, something like that. And I remember that, at that moment, I was young myself, but I had a five-bedroom house that I had rented out. Don't ask me why. I was young, okay? But I said, yeah, just moving on my friends. And when I heard his story and what was happening, I obviously allowed him to move in with me, and pay only $300 a month. Now he has his own room, helped him get a car, helped him get a job. And you can really see how he flourished in a sense, and he was just someone cared. Someone was willing to take the time, so I love that you're in this space, and not just so much for the foster youth, but anyone that is dealing with trauma in their lives at a young age, as a young adult. It's so crucial that they have leaders like yourself, Chris. And I'm so happy that you made the decision to leave that financial world that you were doing for so long, and I'm pretty sure you were really good at, but to give your purpose to something even bigger. Because there's individuals like myself, and I'm out of Boston, but there's 10 of us that are adopted on my mom's side. And then you have the 8 on my father's side. So there's so many kids that are struggling with these type of issues. And now learning so much more, I'm hoping that someone is listening to this that is going through this and understand that there's resources out there for you. You just have to go look for it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you were a fortunate one. You were adopted,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, once foster youth get into their teenage years, the chances of them being adopted by somebody are very, very slim. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're on their own, really. And yeah, sometimes there are housing allowances and things that are provided for several years, between 18 and 21, for example. But it's not enough to live off of. And,
Yeah.
we're a unique organization in Orange County because we do so many things and have so many programs and services to meet the needs of the young people. We've got 4 of our own housing programs. We've got a workforce development program. We've got a scholarship program for college. We have a drop-in center for young adults to get their basic needs met. We've got workshops for living skills. We've got all sorts of programs. And most areas of the country, nonprofits will focus on maybe 1 or 2 of those things. And so it's quite beneficial for our young people to kind of go to a one-stop shop to get all of their needs met. We're providing also linkages to mental health services, to their physical health, all the things that they need. And when those services are fragmented, once again, they don't always have transportation. So getting around to try to see all these different organizations to meet all my needs, that's tough. And the other thing that's nice about the model we have is they really have one primary care coordinator that's an Orangewood Foundation employee
Mm-hmm.
that they build that relationship with. And they then help direct them within our organization to other parts of our company that have housing or financial resources or education or workforce. So they're not dealing with 4 or 5 different organizations with 4 or 5 different case managers, they've really got one person that's looking out for their best interests, and that's been really successful for us.
I can see, especially, you being, it's already kind of, it's hard to already open up. So you put me in front of so many different people and I'm having to kind of repeat myself. It's a little tricky there, but if you have that one person that they can go to, that's always going to be that go-to person. I see where that's beneficial. I love that you guys have that model. I want to take it to AI really quick. Everyone's in the industry is kind of in this space because AI is taking over, but how is Orangewood actually using AI to improve its impact?
Yeah, so as an organization, we're always looking to be as efficient as possible, because we fundraise about 60% of the money to provide our services and programs. And so we want to stretch our donor dollars as far as possible and maximize the impact that they can have. So AI is something that we've been evaluating for the past 9 months, looking at different tools, trying to understand how they could be integrated into our operations. And the two main areas that we're focusing on is our marketing communications area, which is pretty common for most businesses. But the other piece is how we can streamline and automate our documentation process for our case managers, our care coordinators. We want them to be spending as much time as possible directly interfacing and interacting with our young people. If we can eliminate 2 hours a day of them keying in their notes into the system and documenting all their activities and the goals that the youth are setting and their progress, if we can automate that, then that's 2 hours that they can be spending building relationships with young people. So that's the primary area that we're focusing on, and we're pretty close to, I think, selecting a tool and kind of building out a little trial model to see how well it works. But
I love that.
it'll never replace the human interactions that an organization like ours has to have with our young people. I mean, that's the basis of everything that we do is that trusting relationship. So we never want to try to replace our staff with automation. If anything, if we can make ourselves more efficient, maybe we can hire another care coordinator, because we're saving so much time in some of these more clerical administrative areas.
I love that, and the way I look at AI and technology is that co-pilot. It really just, as you made, it makes more efficient, but never losing that people skills because it's so important. Even this conversation, I love the conversation, but just imagine what it feels like when we're in person and we're having a different conversation. The energy in the room becomes a little different. So I'm definitely a advocate of never losing that people mentality, because we already got lost a little bit in the social media, right? We already got lost. We don't go outside anymore. Like Chris, they can't take away the people to people interaction.
That's
But
right.
if how comfortable are you saying that you have a AI expert or agent to be something your clients and community can actually access, to be trusted good information, such as maybe a website where you have a 24/7, somebody always answering those questions that maybe someone has at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, our care coordinators are amazing people, and they care deeply about the young people that they serve, and they are available generally 24/7. I mean, we don't want them to be working all the time, of course, but when an emergency comes up, that's who we want our young person to call. And
Mm.
uh, that also validates that they trust us and that they are willing to reach out for help. So if there's a question that comes up that person can't answer, and we've, like any organization, we've got a great IT team that supports all of our users, our youth, all the students at our charter school, and they're spending a lot of time learning the ins and outs of AI and the benefits it can have. And so we do have a lot of independent living skills workshops that we hold at our organization
Nice.
on a variety of topics: financial literacy, credit, budgeting, relationships, your health and wellness. And the use of technology and how to use it safely and how to protect yourself from fraud and identity theft. Those are workshops that we hold regularly to make sure that our young people are educated and that they, because their phone is attached to their hip in their hand all the time, and
Mhm.
it can make them very vulnerable if they
True.
do something, click on a link that they shouldn't, or visit a website that could then cause them a lot of issues.
Open up an email, right?
Right.
That looks like it's a legit email, but it's really not. Walmart always tries to do that to me. Um, Walmart. You build like a career that's fulfilling, but it wasn't always a safe choice. What advice would you actually give to someone who feels that maybe they're stuck in that corporate, job, that 9 to 5, but probably afraid to take that leap into something more meaningful, like you did?
Well, when I was working at my previous employer before Orangewood, uh, I wasn't the only one that was miserable. And the thing that I didn't do that others did is I didn't live beyond my means, and I didn't even live up to my means. Even though I was getting promoted and making more money, I was putting a lot of that aside and saving it and not buying the bigger house or the fancier car or all those things. So uh, it was easier maybe for me than others to leave because, you know, I could use some of that money I saved and my salary at Orangewood, and I could still do all the things I need to do for my family and myself. But, you know, I used to tell those guys, this isn't a prison. You can leave whenever you want.
Hmm.
So it's just up to you to make the call, to make the decision. And you're right, it can be scary. It's risky, right? I mean, I'd never worked for a nonprofit before, and
Hmm.
they had $7 million of revenue versus $3 billion of revenue where I was at before. So, but I think you just have to trust your gut, trust your heart. Like what feels right probably is right. And as scary as it is, I mean, there's lots of quotes out there. You find them on the internet about, you know, the best decisions are sometimes the riskiest decisions, and there's no certainty with anything. But I think it's sad when people just fall into a rut and a routine and just go through the motions, and they're counting down the weeks or months for the next 15 years until they can retire. I mean, that's not living your life to the fullest. And so I've gained so much by making that move. Of course, all the things I talked about earlier with spending time with my family and getting to
Hmm.
see those four children grow up to be young adults, and all of the time I got to spend with them and the experiences I got to create. But I've met so many incredible people through Orangewood Foundation that I never would have met before, including my current wife through an Orangewood event. But celebrities and athletes and just amazing donors with super interesting backgrounds and stories, and young people that are just so inspiring, the adversity that they've been able to overcome, uh, to get their master's degrees or to become doctors or lawyers against all odds. And, I mean, it's not even like going to work, quote unquote, every day.
Hmm.
You're going to this place to help young people and support them with a bunch of other great people that you work with. And so, yeah,
That's a sweet spot. That's the sweet spot about nonprofit. Every nonprofit leader I spoke to, especially when they made a transition from for profit to nonprofit, they all say the same thing. I'm much happier. It doesn't seem like work. I'm just changing the world one day at a time.
yep, I
I
totally
love it.
agree. Yep.
I love it. What keeps you personally motivated? Like, I can only imagine there's the ups and the downs, but what really keeps you motivated every day to continue this work?
Well, frankly, I don't need a lot of motivation. I just love what I do, and
Mm.
there's so much need out there. I guess I just want to do more, help more young people. We just finished up building our next strategic plan for the next 3 to 4 years, and we've identified 5 areas that we really want to accelerate our impact in those areas and provide more resources. And that's my drive. I mean, I tell our team, if you're complacent and you're standing still as an organization, pretty soon the needs have changed and you're not even in touch with those, or others have passed you by and they're more effective and impactful than you've become. And then all of a sudden donors are redirecting their money and youth are going to other organizations because you're not in tune with what's going on, and the services you're providing aren't as valuable. So, we have to constantly innovate, constantly check ourselves, make sure that what we're doing and how we're delivering those programs and services still are meeting the needs of our young people. We really focus a lot on youth voice and getting their input and feedback into what it is they need. It's not for us to try to guess or figure out what they need. We have thousands of them that we're serving every year. Let's ask them,
Mhm.
hey, what are we doing well? What could you use more of? Where are there gaps in the services we provide? And then it's up to us to figure out, is that something we can do? And if so, how do we do it?
Yeah. What you mentioned that there are some things on the horizon. What is next for Orangewood? Like, what are the big goals? What are those initiatives?
Well, we've built one very successful public charter school, Semwelly Academy, 7th through 12th graders. Some of them are in the foster care system, but most very low income young people of color that need a different type of opportunity for their education. We'd love to do more of that with our school. Housing is the biggest challenge we have, and most counties and states all have the same affordable housing challenge and lack of inventory for people that they're trying to serve. So we're going to take it upon ourselves to create more housing inventory and opportunities for our young people, whether that's us building or buying our own housing, or partnering with other nonprofits, or partnering with affordable housing providers. But that's a big goal of ours. And then we're going to focus a lot on advocacy. We do advocacy, but it kind of in a haphazard way. So
Mhm.
really developing a strategy around how to advocate for our organization, for our young people, to get those influential decision makers in local and state government to become aware and knowledgeable of the challenges our young people face, and then get them to direct more resources or legislation to support them.
Chris, we're coming up to the fun part of this podcast, which is that blind question. Before we get to that blind question, for those that are still listening, how can they actually support Orangewood's mission?
Well,
Whether it's mentorship, donations, or just getting involved.
yeah, I mean, if you are someone that lives in the Orange County or Southern California area, go to our website and see if there's different ways you might want to volunteer or participate in some of our events that we have. We also need foster families for a program that we have at our school, which is very unique and not like traditional foster care. If you're out of the area, hey, get on our social media channels on Instagram and YouTube and others, and follow us. And of course, we always are looking to grow our services, so we do need financial support. But just being educated and being advocates for young adults. I mean, we've talked a lot about foster care in this interview, but we also serve survivors of human trafficking, which are another very vulnerable population that need more awareness in the broader community about the fact that those aren't prostitutes. Those are people that have been enslaved into this life, and they need support getting out of that life and then after they leave. So, um, and just maybe when you see somebody, whether it's a young person or someone else that's on the streets homeless, just don't rush to judgment about that person.
Mhm.
Most likely they've experienced tremendous trauma, whether that's being a veteran of the armed forces or coming out of foster care or domestic violence situation. uh, you know they're individuals, they're people, they're members of our community, and they deserve respect, and they deserve our empathy and compassion. And uh, just maybe look through a different lens when you encounter them. And one of the best things our youth says about us is just that we take the time to listen to them and acknowledge them and say good morning and say hi and hey, what's your name? It's little things like that that can make a big difference.
I was gonna say just the little things, man. Just make them feel like they're worthy of something, right?
Yeah.
That they have value. A lot of the times, I think when they don't see that, that's when they really feel um, less than, when they speak less to others. And it takes time. All these walls they put up, now people got to go back and try to knock down those walls to really get to them, let them know that there is help. And Chris, I can't thank you enough again for making the transition you did. I'll transition to that blind question, man. Thank you so much again. But let's say you had 60 seconds to give advice to your younger self, to young Chris, to give advice to your younger self right before taking the leap into nonprofit leadership. What would you tell young Chris?
Well, I think I would say that, you know what, building a career on a certain path it's great. You need to have goals, you need to set goals, but you also need to be willing and open to making a pivot, to changing, to constantly reevaluate your situation and whether it's bringing you joy and happiness. And if it's not, then it's time to look for something that would make you happier and more fulfilling. And it really bothers me, and I feel bad for people that aren't always in the situation that maximizes their enjoyment in life, and they're settling, whether it's a job or a relationship or something else. They just feel like they're stuck, and you're never stuck. And unless you're in a prison cell, you have options, you can make
Yeah.
decisions, you can change your life, and don't be afraid to do that.
Well, Chris, we appreciate you and everything you've done to continue just transforming lives, the young lives at the Orangewood Foundation. And for those that are still watching, please make sure that you guys do share and continue to let people know that there's resources out there like Orangewood that is truly wanting to help, not just those in the foster system, but those that have also been in the sex trafficking system, those that just need assistance, that are going through things and maybe feel like they're alone. There's so many different organizations such as Orangewood. And Chris, again, thank you so much for your time, for doing this with us. If you guys haven't already, make sure that you guys do like, share, subscribe. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks,
Hard and
Efren.
Hustle. We'll catch you guys on the next one.